Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Aces High. I'm back. I'm bringing you guys more videos. Today we're gonna kind of do one of those off videos, you know? We're gonna talk about Winston Churchill. So, Winston Churchill. I learned about him back in, oh god, elementary school, middle school. But I mean, you don't really retain that for very long afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know much about him. I know that he was one of Britain's prime ministers. I know that he was a key part of World War II. That's pretty much it. So we're going to watch a video today by Captivating History that talks about Winston Churchill and just kind of explains what he is in a fun, animated way. I guess before I get started, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you guys are new, and stick around because I post videos every day. Let's check it out.
Hi, and welcome to Captivating History. In this video, you will discover some fascinating facts about the life of Winston Churchill. But first, let's look at what this little guy has in store for us in this video.
What?
Yep, you guessed it, a book on Winston Churchill from Captivating History. So, in case you,
They had to have some type of an ad or something, right? I guess that makes sense. That's a fun way to do it, though.
after watching this video, feel as if your tummy is starving for more information on how to refuse to give in, deliver jaw-dropping speeches, and keep a whiskey going on through the day. Anyway, check the link in the description for more information about the book. All right, let's get into it. As a British politician who was well known for serving twice as Prime Minister for the United Kingdom, and as an infamous war organizer, leader Winston S. Churchill filled his long life with achievements and recognition plotted throughout every modern history book. Most famously, he led Great Britain into victory over Nazi Germany during World War II.
How long is a British Prime Minister's term? Because they said he served for 2 terms. So how long is it? 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years? I mean, what is it? Because our president is 4 years in America, but I mean it's different with senators and it's different with governors. Like a governor is 6 years. So I mean, yeah.
In his first run as Prime Minister, he also played an essential role in negotiating peace once the war reached an unsteady end. Commonly, his name is associated as one of the Big Three, alongside United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Soviet Union leader Joseph Stalin. In unity, the three men helped lead the world to a resolution from the violence and terror that reigned in World War II.
Okay.
Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill was born on November 30th, 1874, at Blenheim
Jesus.
Palace in Oxfordshire, England, into the influential and aristocratic family of the Dukes of Marlborough. Churchill later moved and called.
I've got a question. Is it common for people born into a richer family to end up being prime minister? Or, I mean, I'm sure that's decently common, but how common is it for somebody who's born to a more common family, poorer family, to work their way up and become prime minister? Does that happen in England very often, or I mean in Britain?
Dublin, Ireland, his home from ages 2 to 6. It was here in Dublin that Churchill began the earliest stages of his education, in which his governess instructed him in those noble pursuits of history, literature, writing, and mathematics. Growing older, Churchill passed the age of in-home learning and moved toward boarding school. During his childhood education, Churchill maintained a poor academic record. From an early age, Churchill expressed a heavy interest in military history and affairs. His earliest surviving letter comprises a military scene filled with flags, castles, and toy soldiers, which Churchill particularly loved and collected. He amassed an army of around 1,500 Napoleonic-era toy soldiers, which he played with often during his self-simulated battles. Therefore, it was no surprise that Churchill began his military career soon after entering Harrow School in April of 1888. While at Harrow,
That's interesting. Something I never really thought about. Like when I was a little kid playing with army men or whatever, they would look like modern army men or army men from like the 60s or 70s or something like that. But I guess at that time, it wasn't too uncommon to have army men that were based off the looks of Napoleonic era, you know? Very cool.
he told his friend Merlin Evans, "I tell you, I shall be in command of the defenses in London, in the high position I shall occupy." It will fall to me to save the capital and save the empire. Churchill began his military service for real in 1895 by spending a short amount of time in the Cuban War for Independence. After that, Churchill soon headed toward Bombay, British India, in 1896, where he served as both a soldier and a journalist on the northwest frontier. Many scholars, namely Keith Robbins and John Charley, believe that Churchill formed his own education, one unstifled by the university's restrictions and professors' personal leanings during this time in India. He read important works and developed his own thoughts without supervising guidance. Continuing this educational pattern, Churchill took copies of parliamentary debates from the last few generations, which he received from his mother, and noted his opinions on each issue before reading over the debates and recording his opinions again. In this way...
That's interesting. Do you think that she sent him those files because he wanted them so bad, or that she was just trying to push him in one direction, or probably just a combination of both?
Churchill developed argumentative skills through self-learning, skills that he would employ later in government positions and during his public speeches. Although he lost his first attempt to enter Parliament in 1899, Churchill's famous escape from a group of Boer soldiers during the Second Boer War tipped the scales his way during the following year. After winning the seat at Oldham in the 1900 general election, Churchill employed his great oratory skills as he traveled throughout Great Britain and the United States of America on a speaking tour. During this time, he managed to collect £10,000. Churchill gained association with a faction of the Conservative Party in Parliament under the lead of Lord Hugh Cecil. Soon after...
£10,000, that's impressive, actually. I mean, think about it. The year 1900, so what, 121 years ago. I don't know how the pound compared to the US dollar at the time, but I mean, just even 10,000 US dollars back then, I mean, that's incredible. 10,000's a lot back then. Hell, it's not bad today, you know?
After joining governmental ranks, Churchill began transitioning from the Conservative Party to the Liberal Party. In the months before his changeover to the Liberal Party, Churchill, as a proponent of free trade, helped to found the Free Food League and spoke against the principles of protectionism, arguing that to think you can make a man richer by putting on a tax is like a man thinking he can stand in a bucket and lift himself up by the handle. In 1938, when the Germans had begun inching into a controlling over its neighbors, Churchill made public his critique for Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain's policy of Nazi appeasement, claiming that he was not doing enough to turn from the current and inevitable path. Great Britain declared war on Germany on September 3, 1939, and Churchill gained the title First Lord of the Admiralty and was given membership to the War Cabinet. In 1940, Churchill became chairman of the Military Coordinating Committee. Neville Chamberlain quickly lost popularity and confidence, and King George VI appointed Churchill as Prime Minister and Minister of Defense on May 10th.
Okay. So, yeah, so I guess that's how exactly does it work with the Prime Minister? So, the king or queen, the monarchy, can obviously appoint a Prime Minister. Do you guys ever vote on a Prime Minister, or is it just full-on appointment from the monarchy? And if that's the case, then, again, does it dictate how long each term is? Because at the beginning it said that he had 2 terms.
On the day the phony war ended, Churchill spoke to the House of Commons on June 18, 1940, and warned that the Battle of France was over and the Battle of Britain would soon begin. Before the period known as the Battle of Britain, Churchill said, "We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We will fight on the beaches. We will fight on the landing grounds. We will fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We will never surrender." At every turn, Churchill reminded Great Britain that Nazism was the primary enemy, keeping the resistance alive. He curated the foundation for alliances with the Soviet Union and the United States. Previously, Churchill and the United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt cultivated a relationship in the 1930s. Therefore, Churchill found aid from the United States in that they could order war goods from the U.S. on credit through the Lend-Lease Act.
Yeah,
As the
that's
war
right.
came to a close, Winston S. Churchill proposed plans for social reforms in Great Britain, but the general public did not support his ideas, although Churchill, of course, continued to impact world affairs over the next 6 years. On May 23, 1945, Winston S. Churchill resigned from his position as Prime Minister. Winston S. Churchill was not done with government, though. He was chosen as the leader for the opposition party and held the reins for 6 years. Even after he lost the election of 1950, he continued to lead his party. During a trip to the United States in 1946, Churchill delivered his Iron Curtain speech, in which he warned of the dangers imposed by the USSR and the Eastern Bloc. In October 1951,
Isn't that crazy? Just, World War II, we're all fighting together against Nazi Germany. And then immediately after World War II, suddenly it's, oh my God, they're the worst thing in the world. It's America and Great Britain, and we're saying, oh, the communists are going to take over everything. They're sitting over there saying, oh no, they're screwing up the whole world. We're doing the correct thing. And I mean, just imagine having an ally, and then a few years later they're your enemy. And for decades too.
Winston S. Churchill once again found himself within the position of Prime Minister, which lasted until his resignation in April 1955. After retirement, Churchill spent most of his time at Chartwell House in Kent or Hyde Park Gate in London. During this era of his life, he passed many of his days delving into the high society of the French Riviera. On January 15, 1965, Winston S. Churchill had a severe stroke at his London home at the age of 90,
Oh wow.
and he died on January 24, 1965. Often, people feel they know much about Churchill as a servant to his country from easily attained and general information. But they know little about Churchill's personal life. Churchill was a husband, a father, a painter, and a historian, among many other things.
Really, a painter?
While he also maintains the status of a war hero and prime minister, he was much more in life. His aspirations and desires were a large part of who he was and how he attained his goals. Now, you probably know more about Churchill than 90% of the population. In case
I think I now know more about Churchill than 95% of Americans. I would definitely argue that I do not know more than most British people. I'm sure you guys know a hell of a lot more about Winston Churchill than I do. It's just something that I was never taught as much about. He was glazed over, and during World War II, certain parts were brought up as moments of importance, but that's about it. Anyway, I am glad I watched this though, because it's something that just I saw it pop up and it was on my mind, and why not? It's Winston Churchill. But hey, like I said before, if you guys are new to the channel, smash that like button, hit that sub button, ring the bell. I post videos every day. Help me out, and I'll keep on doing this. Till next time, hope you all liked it. This is Ace Asai, and I'm out.